Welcome to a new video in my home automation series, and today I'm doing something which I probably should have done a long time ago, especially since the NSPanel has been out for about, I think, 1.5 years. The NSPanel Pro is out since about half a year. So the question is, how can you use these devices if you want to control the temperature in your room? And this is what I'm going to talk about now. So probably you can make up your mind whether for your application you would need the NSPanel or you would the NSPanel Pro, which one suits your needs better. And I have a quick slide here, so I can just quickly summarize the differences and the similarities between the two machines. And I think it would be easier to start with the similarities, which are actually in the middle of this page, which it's these three here. So both of these devices support a heating or a cooling mode, which means that in heating mode, they turn on if the room temperature is less than the desired or the set temperature. In a cooling mode, it's the other way around. So both of them supports that. Both of them has a manual mode or a program mode. So in manual mode, you would use the dials to set the temperature. And in program mode, which you can see here on the right screen, this dial is disabled, and then you can program like different set points throughout the day, what temperature the NSPanel should hold automatically. And both of them use an external actuator, which means that you have to configure another Sonoff device which will actually control your boiler, or basically switch on and off your boiler, or I don't know, underfloor electrical heating mats, or whatever heater, a fan, or an oil radiator, or whatever you have. So these are basically just the UI, the screens where you can control all this stuff. But okay, there are some differences as well. So first, the main difference between the two is the NSPanel is mainly used for, well, it is designed, I think it is designed mainly for like a single room thermostat. So it has a built-in sensor, which is going to measure the room temperature. And of course, there would be another sort of device where it can control whatever heating device that I just explained previously. So if you want a single room heating, or if you have like a thermostat, like a manual thermostat already, you can just replace it with the NSPanel. And of course, that also means that if you have a lot of different rooms and you want individual heating in each of the rooms, you probably would install NSPanel in each of them, so you can control these rooms separately. The NSPanel Pro, I mean, besides just being a room controller, it has a lot of other functionalities that I explained in a separate video. But you can control multiple thermostats in the NSPanel Pro. So think about it. Let's say you have, you can have several rooms as well, or maybe just several zones in a house, and you can switch between those thermostats views in the NSPanel Pro in order to set the temperature in those rooms or zones. So in this way, if you don't want to have a separate screen in each of your locations, you can just have one NSPanel Pro and just set all of these thermostats. And of course, whenever you configure these thermostats, they would use a temperature sensor in that room, and they would control an actuator, a relay, that is going to turn on the heating or cooling in that room. So these are the main differences. So I think NSPanel Pro is more like a multi-room controller, or like a central screen for multi-room controller. And of course, as I said, NSPanel Pro has a lot of additional functionalities. And maybe the other additional functionality that I would highlight, which is more related to temperature and humidity, is that it can also show you the temperature and the humidity depending on which devices you use. So it could be just temperature or temperature and humidity for the last 24 hours. So if you are interested in that, that is only available in the NSPanel Pro. And now I want to talk about how these connections look like. So there are usually like three main components to any thermostats. You need a screen where you can control the temperature that you want to set, and these would be the NSPanel, or the NSPanel here on the top, or the NSPanel Pro here on the bottom. And also you need a temperature source. As I said, for the NSPanel, there is a built-in temperature sensor, so you don't really need anything. And for the NSPanel Pro, you need an external temperature sensor, mostly because, as I said, being a multi-room controller, you don't need to install the NSPanel Pro necessarily in the same room or in the same location where you want to control temperature. The devices that are supported by the NSPanel Pro are growing all the time. At the moment when I was testing it, I could use either TH10 or the TH16 for that. So this is the Sonoff relay, which has an external temperature, humidity, or only temperature sensor, or you can use the Zigbee temperature sensor as well. So the NSPanel Pro has a big built-in Zigbee gateway, so you can just pair a Zigbee temperature sensor to it. And I have also tested a lot of different temperature sensors from other makers. I mean Zigbee ones, and they tend to work with the NSPanel Pro. So if you need a different model which has a screen or a slightly different design, and it's also Zigbee 3.0 compatible, you're most probably going to use them. But obviously Sonoff sells their own device. And then in both of the cases, you need a device. I mentioned this execution device. So this is the device either the NSPanel or the NSPanel Pro is going to send signals to either turn on or turn off based on the temperature and whether the mode is set to heating or cooling. And I think the differences here is mainly, what you want to control. Because obviously we have, I haven't even listed all the available devices from Sonoff, but there are, many devices from a small basic to all the way to the really big SMP or even the POW release 3, and they have different amp ratings. So it really depends on what is the devices is going to provide heating or cooling to your room, and then just make sure that you are selecting a device according to the power rating of that device. I want to mention the CH Pro specifically because at the moment I think this is the only and the easiest way to use dry contact in the Sonoff system. So most probably if you have a gas boiler, those gas boilers, they have like two lines. You obviously have to look at the manual because it's different for different brands and makes. And of course, there are some standards in the US, but I think in Europe it's not that standardized in terms of the wiring standard and the color coding. So yeah, you should look up the user manual of your boiler. But basically, these devices have two wires, and they expect those two wires to be shorted to get the boiler to turn on. And almost all of the Sonoff devices, instead of creating this short connection or the dry contact, they provide mains voltage. But the CH Pro does not. So you specifically need this device if you need dry contact connection or if you're using gas boilers. And this has, it has 4 channels. So obviously for a boiler, you only need one of the channels, and then you can use the other 3 channels for something else, for lights or something else. But for each of those 4 channels, you have 3 terminals. And for these gas boilers, you would need to use the common, so the middle one, and the other one which says NO, normally open. And that gets closed when the relay is energized. So these would be the gas boilers. And I think for pretty much all the other scenarios, you would have a device that would use electricity in order to provide either heat or cooling. So let's say for example, if you have underfloor heating and you need to actuate motors or these solenoid valves, they usually require a very low amperage. So for those, you can use the very the smallest Sonoff devices, so something like a Sonoff Basic or the Sonoff Mini. These are the cheapest ones. So you would configure these in the NSPanel Pro and the NSPanel. From 10 amps, the next one up is probably POW Release 2 or the POW Elite. That can supply 16 amps. So they have a 16 amp relay. So like for bigger heaters or one of those, fan heaters or oil radiators, you probably want to use something like that. But again, check your particular model, check the amperage rating on that, just to make sure that you are picking the right product. If you need something even more, or for example, if instead of using room temperature, for example, if you are using the TH10, you can get water probes for that. So if you want to heat water, you can use that as well as the input temperature input source. And for those could be some really big devices. So the latest release from POW is the POW release 3. So those have 25 amp relays. So they are quite beefy ones. And also you have the SMP series. So these are the stackable relays that you would normally install in your breaker box, and they have 20 amp relays. And now, after we looked at all these different options and I explained about the general concept and the layout, let's see how you configure the thermostats in each of these devices. So this is my NSPanel Pro, and you can see that I have configured a thermostat screen. So in this thermostat screen, you see the most important controls. You see the temperature and the humidity reading, which is coming from the device that you configured for this thermostat. You have an enable button where you can just turn on the entire thermostat functionality or off, and you have basically a switch between two different modes. One is the manual mode, where you can use this wheel to set the temperature, and also you have the auto mode where you can set several temperatures throughout the day, which temperature to heat the house to. So let's say you can set that when you wake up, the temperature should to increase to like, 21 degrees. But when you go to bed and you are sleeping, it can go down to like 19 degrees. There is also a lock function to lock the screen. But that's basically, then this is what you would expect from a temperature and the humidity sensor. So at the moment, this thermostat is connected to the first channel of the of my 4CH. So if I turn the heating up, then it's going to turn on the relay, because I want 29 degrees, but it's only 21 degrees in the room, so the heating should turn off. And of course, if you turn it off, if you turn the temperature down, it's going to turn off the relay. There is a little bit of delay, because I guess they don't want these things to be turning on and off automatically. There is also a hysteresis that you can set. But yeah, that's how it works. And I have only configured one thermostat, but you can see this icon here. So if I would have multiple thermostats, basically I can just switch between those in the screen. So we get exactly the same screen, but they would be from different rooms. So you can just rename them to bedroom, living room, kitchen, something else. So this is how you can control multiple from one single device. And let me just go into the settings so you can see how this is all configured. So on the NSPanel Pro, you come to the thermostat screen. You can see that I have only one, but I can create another one as well. And then when you create a thermostat, first question is, what is the temperature source the NSPanel Pro is going to use? And as you can see, I can specify quite a few temperature sources. So this temperature and the humidity sensor is my Zigbee sensor. I just hadn't renamed it. I have a TH10, and this is what I'm using here. But I also have a TH Elite, which is now supported. A couple of weeks ago, this wasn't supported. And the HMRO screen is actually the NSPanel. So if I want to configure a new thermostat, I can say that, okay, I want to configure a thermostat. This should be for heating, and the action device is, let's say, it should be the channel 2 of the 4CH, and I can just name it like bedroom, and I can control it from here as well. And if I enable, I can set the temperature. So the TH Elite is measuring a higher temperature, but if I turn it all the way up, then we can see, if I go back to my NSPanel, the 4CH, which is here, I think we should see that the channel 2 is on as well. So that's how it works. It's very simple to configure. And by the way, if I go back to my screen, I don't know how quickly it refreshes, but yeah, so these changes don't come to the NSPanel Pro immediately. Maybe when I wait a little, I should be able to change between the test and the bedroom. And then once you are in the screen, then you can, you can see the temperature and the humidity here. In the settings, you can change the name. You can again change what the device that is used for temperature and humidity. You can change the accuracy as well. And this is not really accuracy, it is the hysteresis. You can see the information here. So if you set it to plus minus 1 degrees, it will keep the temperature between plus and minus, brackets of, what you set here. And that's it. And of course, if you switch to auto, then you can specify schedules. So you can add the schedule like every day from, I don't know, like, midnight to 8 a.m. I want 20 degrees. And you can create another one which says on, okay, let's save this. And you can create another one which says from 8 a.m. to something else, it should be like 22 degrees. So let's say from 8 a.m. To, well, actually, let's set it to midnight. So that will be just two temperatures. That would be like a daytime and a nighttime. And let's assume that we are really late owls. And okay, so these are my two schedules. So if I set it to auto, then it should actually turn to, oh, it's already turned to 24 degrees because we are after 8 a.m. So that's how it works. It's a very simple scheduling. And as you can see, you can set so many different schedules, and you can set different schedules for weekdays and weekends and, Monday, Sunday, or basically whatever schedule that fits your daily life. And the experience on the NSPanel is going to be fairly similar. So here I have to swipe to the oh no, I always make it wrong. So I have to swipe it to the right, and this is how you get to the thermostat screen. As I said, it is using the inbuilt temperature sensor, so obviously it is not going to have multiple thermostats. It's just a single thermostat. And as you can see, you have the wheel to set the temperature manually, so you can change it here. And now it shows that the thermostat is on, and this icon actually shows that while it's set to heating at the moment, the heating is on. And actually there is a Sonoff basic which is getting actuated. So if I just zoom out a little bit, you can see this Sonoff basic is on at the moment. And if I bring the temperature down, it will be turned off after a short while. Oops, no, please. And then the heating turns off. And you can change between manual mode, and also there is an auto mode here. So for the auto mode, the 20 degrees is turned on at the moment. It is very simple to use. This is what you would expect from a thermostat. So if I go into the settings, so you can see that this is my NSPanel, and here you can operate the two outputs, but we don't care about that at the moment. So what you have here is the thermostat screen. So here you can, change the temperature. Well, I could change the temperature here, but we are in the we were in the auto mode, but I can change the temperature here, and that gets updated on the screen as well. And eventually the relay is going to turn on. I can turn off the entire thermostat, and I can go into auto mode, where within the auto mode we can give the very similar schedules of what we have seen in the NSPanel Pro. So you can specify it for whichever day of the week, and also, a from and to hour, and the actual temperature that you want the NSPanel to keep when the time has come. So as you can see, I have specified 3 different ranges at the moment, and the 8:30 to midnight with 20 degrees, that's the one that got activated. And here in the settings, very similar to how you configured it for the NSPanel Pro. Obviously there is no input device here, so there is only an action device or an execution device, which in my case is the Zigbee Basic. And just like before, we can set the thermostat to act as a heater or as a cooler thermostat. And to be honest, that would be pretty much it. And I hope after this video you have a better understanding whether you should use the NSPanel or the NSPanel Pro in your home. And now you can research whichever execution device or action device you should use to drive the heating element or the heating device that you are using in your home. So again, you have a lot of options between the basics, Sonoff basics. Here I have some NS4CH Pro. I also have some of the Elite series here, but there are a lot of other devices that you can use. Just make sure that the amps of the heater is compatible with whatever amps these devices are rated for. If you haven't purchased an NSPanel or an NSPanel Pro, you will find links in the video description. But that will be all for today. Thanks for watching and hopefully see you next video.